Hello everyone, it's Dave from What's Happening in Wirral and Voice for All Caregivers. Today we've got the beautiful Babs Gallimore with us, who's an alcohol and substance misuse support worker, and we're going to learn a little bit about Babs' story and what she offers in the community. We've also got the beautiful Debbie, our very own Debbie, with us as well, and Debbie's going to be speaking about her experiences and asking Babs a few questions as well. So without further ado, Babs, could you give us a little bit of background on yourself and how you become a support worker?
Yeah, hi everyone. 10 years ago I lost my son Paul to addiction. Paul was an alcoholic for many years from an early age. Being a mum, I never actually seen the signs until it was too late, and by that time Paul was a really bad alcoholic. Went through a lot of hard times, too many to really go through, but the big one was when he drank so much, he actually had liver failure due to bleeding varices, which is something that happens when a prolific drinker drinks too much, and the varices are at the bottom of the esophagus, so he bled a lot of times. He used to have to go in hospital and be banded, to save his life, really.
To stop the bleeding?
Yeah, to stop the bleeding. He had cirrhosis of the liver at 22. So he was in a really bad place, and sometimes I think people think they can go on drinking forever, and they can, but sometimes people like Paul, who have a genetic disorder in the liver, it can take your life in a heartbeat.
Right.
But with Paul, the day came when he couldn't stop bleeding, so he got rushed to the Royal Hospital in Liverpool. And I think after all the years that you've been in addiction and the horror that you go through being a parent, watching your son, because you're helpless, you can't do anything because there's nothing you can do. You can't physically stop them. We have to wait until they're ready. But Paul was lucky in a sense that when he had the varicose bleed, he got taken to the Royal Liverpool. We were there for 15 weeks of his life because he was on a life support machine and a ventilator. But they saved his life, the Royal Hospital, the expertise of the doctors there. But you see, they were fixing him. They fixed him. And Paul came out and he made a relationship with his children who he'd lost through the process of alcoholism. They're grown up now, and I have a great grandson who's Paul's grandson. But going back to the Royal Liverpool, when Paul came out, it's stopping is easy, staying stopped is the big one.
How long ago was this, Babs?
This was 10 years ago. It was 7.5 years that Paul was dry after he came out the Royal.
Wow.
He was abstinent from drink. He had a different life. It was like he'd been cleansed inside, but it was only because he'd sort of like detoxed in the time he'd been there. He had shocked lung. There was loads going on, but every time an obstacle come in, the hospital were just second to none, saved his life.
These were sort of materialising as he was on the life support machine, these health
Absolutely,
conditions.
he was healing on the life support machine.
Wow, well, like one more condition after another coming out.
Yeah. And when he came out of everything, he went in about 10, 11 stone, and he came out and he was about 7 stone. But, I got my boy back then.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're all right,
but,
Babs.
After that, he lived his life. He got on a Prilla motorbike. He went on holidays. Everything was wonderful. And then when somebody's in addiction in your family, you notice mannerisms and you know what happens.
Yeah.
And this day, I seen a mannerism and I thought, whoa, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And I crept over to the house where he was living over the road. He was with a girl because he'd split up with his partner years ago. And he knocked a bottle of White Lightning cider under the couch. And I just looked at him and said, son, are you drinking again? No, Mum, don't be daft. I said, well, what's that you've just kicked?
Yeah.
It's not mine. God love him.
Yeah.
He was taken off again. He was in Birchwood Detox Centre 3 times. At the end of the day, the whole process of saving Paul couldn't save him because his liver was that badly damaged through the cirrhosis, etc., that the inevitable happened. Paul used to go yellow quite a lot with jaundice because the liver wasn't working. And this day, I noticed he was going yellow, but normally it was just the top part of his body. But this time it was his legs. And immediately I phoned the ambulance. And unfortunately, when I won't go into the hospital because I will fall apart, but when we actually got to our park, I think they knew from the minute he walked in, well, he didn't walk, sorry, he was pushed in, that there was no hope. And they did try to save him, you know, they did try to save him, but the inevitable happened and we lost him. And ever since then, being a mum, a grieving mother, you know, who'd lost a son, I didn't know which way to turn. I had 3 other children, grandchildren, and I knew I had to do something. And about a year after I'd lost Paul, I got in touch with a guy from the Liso. And I know I'm smiling because he was like a big giant of a man. His name was Andy Dunn. And I knew he'd been in addiction, and I knew he'd got through addiction. I think he was 7 years through addiction. So I got in touch with him and I met him. And I went down to Birkenhead to meet him, and I seen him and I thought, oh my God, he's big. And the next thing I thought, oh, but that man was an absolute marvel because of his expertise in alcohol and drugs, which he took himself. I always remember going into this room and I was telling him my story about I'd lost my son. I kept getting upset, and he said to me, he went, do me a favour, love. I said, what's that? He went, F off and come back when you're ready. And I thought, how very rude of you.
Yeah.
But them words that he said to me made me think, what alcoholic or drug user wanted to look at me crying when they're trying to get themselves back into a life that they want to lead? And that's when I grew up. With Andy's help, I started the group, and then we went on, and Wirral Ways got in touch with me then and asked me if I'd like to go in.
Life's a gift.
Yeah, and then, and I started a group with Andy Dunn called Life is a Gift, which was actually a tattoo that Paul had on his neck when he was in 7.5 years sobriety. And I thought that was really good to use as the group name. But the group was only small in a little field, not in a field, but in a little hut in a field. And then Wirral Ways got in touch with me, thank you Deb. Wirral Ways got in touch with me then and asked me if I'd like to go into their offices and run the groups there, which I did. And they just absolutely took off because there was that many people needing support in Morton where I lived, but they come from all over, Birkenhead, Heswell, everywhere you could think of. And it grew and grew and grew. And I think the support that they got from listening to other people who had come through addiction, got through addiction, was still fighting addiction, it was like a family, because there was no, there was never any trouble, even though some people turned up and had had a few, they knew that they were in a place where they were supported. And plus they wouldn't, because Andy was there and I don't think they'd cross him. But it was really good. And from then on, I became a volunteer for Wirral Ways. I've been with them now 7 years, over 7 years, and love it. Learned so much. Got my MVQ3 in health and social care. I do the needle exchange. Every day of my life I spend with a recovering alcoholic or a drug user, and I love every minute of it.
Do you often think back, because you were quite passionate before talking about the Royal, and
absolutely,
and does that inspire you to be
the Royal Hospital and what they did and what they do? A lot of places and people look down on people in addiction.
Well,
but
that's right,
you know, it's a stigma. They're not that way because they want to be that way. They're that way because they have an addictive personality. Sometimes terrible things happen to them in life where they turn to drink and they can't come off it. But the stories out there, one guy in my group, 16 years, free from alcohol. He's done it himself.
Yeah.
He's done it with the help of hospitals, and he comes to my group. But I've met so many inspirational people that, you know, I'm so proud to call them, you know, a friend, and, you know, they're in my life at the minute. And I always say to my kids when they're naughty and that, you know, I say, do you know what, I'd rather spend my life with a drug addict or an alcoholic than anyone, because you know where you are with them people.
Yeah.
They're suffering, but they're beautiful people inside. They really are.
When Paul came out of the Royal, was there support there for him?
No, there was no support
Nothing.
at all for Paul, because there was nothing like Birchwood Treatment Centre, where I go in and tell Paul's story, and I'm going to go back there soon. They've opened a new one in Heswell.
Right.
But I think Wirral Ways was my saviour. It's called CGL, Change, Grow, Live. And through Melissa, who's my manager, and everything that I do, every course I go on, everything is learning me. I've just done a substance misuse course, which I thought I knew everything, but my God, I didn't, because now I'm on a learning curve. So I've done a suicide awareness course. So everything you do when you work in addiction, you need to know how to say things and how not to say things.
Right.
So you offer the right support then?
Yeah, you have to offer the right support, because people don't want support, and until they're ready to come and get the support, they're not going to get the message that they want to get better.
But they don't want pity or sympathy either.
Well, no,
You
because there's
don't want
nothing
it,
worse
no,
than that, is there?
Absolutely.
People
Or
take,
judgments.
people take
No,
offence
they don't
by
want
pity, don't
judgments.
they? It makes them feel lower.
They want people to realise that what they're doing, they're not doing because they want to do it. They're doing because they're taken over by this addictive thing that is taking them. And sometimes they think they can't stop, but they can, in moderation. If they reduce the income of alcohol, then every day will be a different day where they'll see things differently.
Yeah.
And that's when they'll go on like the change in their life.
I think some people fear, don't they, that if they stop, one, who are they, and two, they then have to face up to the reality of everything that they've done, you know. And then I think that's got to be a hard process. If you've hurt somebody while you've been in addiction, if you stole from somebody, if you've done some, and you're all of a sudden 1, 2, 3 back in the room, how do you deal with that, you know? I mean, you've been in a situation where your son's become then, you know, recovering alcoholic, and how did he cope with, you know, things that he'd done while he'd been an addict?
I think with Paul, he never really got into trouble. Paul was a drinker in the bedroom.
Right.
He never come out of the bedroom. He didn't go to pubs. He didn't have fights. He was just a drinker where he'd go to the shop, buy his 3 bottles of White Lightning cider, come home, have them in his bedroom and drink them.
Yeah.
He was aggressive. I'm not saying he was beautiful.
Yeah.
He was aggressive. People in addiction are aggressive.
Yeah.
You know, but then I didn't know what to do, and I kept saying, just stop drinking. Mother, you don't understand.
Yeah.
My God, did I not understand?
That's as old, because you've got your demons when you're in addiction, haven't you? And that's where like the frustration and aggression comes out. Just out of interest, you touched on something before about when they wean them out, because you'll see a lot of alcoholics and they'll drink the really, really weak lager. I'm just wondering whether that's people who are trying to wean off and they want to come off it, because you very rarely see an alcoholic with like a bottle of vodka. Obviously there's a price issue as well, because they're drinking every day, but all they're doing is topping up their alcohol. They're not really enjoying being drunk, are they? They're just topping up their alcohol to keep them functioning properly, so they will be on weak, cheap lager or cider.
Yeah, and I think the percentage of it is the big one, isn't it? Because you can get like the Skull Super if they're really bad in addiction, or the ciders, the Taurus, the White Lightning, the Frosted
And it's
Jack.
chemicals, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's not proper cider, it's chemicals,
I did a thing once called the Reducing Strength in the White Lightning cider, but then the pandemic come and knocked everything out, because that was a really good one, that where they stopped people buying the big bottles of White Lightning.
I remember hearing about that,
Yeah, and they just put it down to little cans, but it was still there. And
it's
you
so
know,
cheap,
it was still
so
looked
And
cheap.
drinking
bad.
went through the roof in the pandemic as well, because it was
Absolutely.
all over social media. Everyone felt that's what everyone was doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And broadcasting it as well.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and they're not necessarily people, yeah, but that's all everyone was doing. I know I started having a drink during the pandemic. I think everyone did. I had 9 weeks off work, 9 or 10 weeks off work, so over the weekend I was having a drink.
Yeah.
Because there was nothing really else to do, which there was, but that's a mentality, isn't it? That's
Absolutely, yeah, and it's everywhere. Drink, you can't stop drink. You're not going to be able to, because they get too much money out of it, don't they? So they're not going
that's been mentioned on our page
stop
this
that,
week,
yeah. Because you know, society doesn't really care about the addiction. It's so long as they get the money, they're not interested.
There was mention the other day about because Wales were quite strict with the COVID rules, weren't they?
Yeah.
Not strict in England,
Very.
and they closed. They led the way really, and they closed parts of the supermarkets, which I don't think they did that here, because I remember seeing my mum said the supermarket.
Yeah.
I don't think they shut aisles, but they did in Wales. Is you don't need the necessity aisles. And it may have got a lot of publicity because things like the baby aisle for like baby wipes and bibs was closed,
Oh yeah,
but the alcohol aisle was open.
that's right.
And they didn't have an answer for it. They're making a lot of money on it, because when you go to like a tax haven like Dubai, in the supermarket alcohol's ridiculously cheap. It's not in the pubs because that's the way Dubai is, but there's no tax on it, because don't quote me on the figure, but it's ridiculously high. It's like fuel, 60, 70, 75% of its tax. Do you know what I mean? So they're running the country on it,
Yeah.
sadly.
That's
Do you know
it.
what I mean?
In answer to your question just then, you know, going on to the low strength,
Yeah.
a lot of guys in the group have always, because I think they can't just stop. So they say, oh, I'm going on the non-alcoholic because it's only 2%, or this one, a little one. My other son does that now. He's on a reduction
I suppose that's
plan.
not a bad thing. I say it's a way to make them feel good about themselves.
I think
Is that they're doing something?
Yeah, and I think, you know, you're not going to create a world where there isn't somebody that wants to drink. So these people who are in addiction, they have a mind of their own. They're absolutely spot on. They know their body and they know how to work it. The people in my group now, I look at them, they're a miracle.
Yeah.
They're a walking miracle. And I can't mention the names, of course, but when they walk in, you think, oh dear God. Inside, oh, how are they ever going to get off the drink? And they do. And they blow your mind, because, you know, you see these people in the streets and they've got off it, but some can't. And this is the way of the world.
The groups, so do you feel as though we talked about it earlier when we were talking about us being sort of like influenced by people around us, and that's the importance of the group, isn't it? Because when they're looking forward to going every week, and they know no one else is going to have had a drink, and they don't want to have had one either.
They feel part of it.
Of course they do. It's a social
space.
Of course, and a social event.
Yeah. It's a place where you can be for 2 hours without a drink. You have tea, coffee, biscuits, cakes, you know, spoil them all.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they're in a safe haven.
Yeah.
And some of them have had a drink to come in, and I don't mind that, because they're not causing any problem.
Yeah, you're not going
They've got to come in, because that is the safety net.
Yeah.
And it's like a camaraderie where they help each other. If somebody's struggling, some of the lads go to AA and they've got a sponsor, and they give phone numbers to each other, which I like, because they've just got that support network where they can get a little bit of help when they need it. And I'm on hand 24/7, because I'm like a pen pal. I have a group online, which is Life is a Gift.
Yeah.
It's a private group, and I've got people all over the world on it.
Right, wow.
And it's not that I'm trying to be big-headed. I just
you just say away, Babs.
I love to be involved in people who have had, like, I run a family group now in Wirral Ways, which I thought about the family side, because we're like a coin. We both hurt on both sides.
Yeah.
The people in addiction hurt, and we hurt being the family. So it's lovely as family members to get together, because we can talk about our loved one without hurting their feelings, saying what we need to get off our chest, because, as I say, it hurts us too.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good that somebody can come, which I've got the family group now, then come and say, I can't stand any more of it, and, you know, what can I do? And that is where the learning curve is, what you can do with families to help them
It's also, it's like if you're a family member and you've got a family member, who's in addiction, who do you sit and tell to?
Yeah.
Because if you sit there and say to your name, oh yeah, my brother, my sister is doing this or doing that, there's a straight away, there's a judgment.
Yeah.
And there is a hierarchy of addiction. You know, those who inject, you know, the lowest of the low and things like that. They're not, but it's society's perception. So I think if there's somewhere where you can go and you can openly sit there and say, my son, brother, sister, mother is doing this.
Yeah.
And without that whole group turning around and going, instead them going, right, I'm in the same boat as you.
Absolutely.
Because I think sometimes with those who are in addiction, if the family have a support, it helps them to be able to support the person in addiction. And it's the knowledge, it's like you said before, you're learning loads. It's the knowledge, it's knowing that if, like, if people think that, you know, smoking heroin, you can't overdose on smoking heroin. You know, so that's something that you learn, you know, so you wouldn't learn that from just anybody, but another family member might tell you, you know, the options that are out there to help with addiction. You know, the amount of time, you know, it's like with anything, if you sit with people that are all in the same boat, it's, oh yeah, have you tried this, have you tried that, have you tried this, you know, so it's all positive. And I think the family groups give people a sense of that they're active in helping rather than being a hindrance, and it helps them to learn the fine line between enabling and supporting.
See, the reason there's a need for the group, as you just touched on it there, is because I think we're just saying there about the family being under a lot of pressure. So for instance, when you've got an addict in a family environment, the family will be pulling their hair out, won't they? Obviously, because they're worried about the addict. So the addict can't sort of, well, he can, or they can, I suppose, but if they start sort of offloading what they're going through, it just riles the family.
Absolutely.
Who are at stress anyway. That's why the outside group's so important for both parties. Because they can't do it amongst themselves.
Because there's a lot of anger, isn't there?
Well, of course there is, and stress. But when you're worried about someone, because they're self-harming really, aren't they? So when it's a loved one, like speak with you, Babs, with you being your son, when it's a loved one, you can see he's hurt himself, you're going to be angry.
Frustrated.
Do you know what I mean? Just out of interest, which you touched on before, is the Windsor Clinic still going in Liverpool?
Is the which?
The Windsor Clinic, the drying out place.
I don't know, but I know that there was one called Whitechapel. I go to the Brink a lot in Liverpool. Well,
yeah, Whitechapel's the support place, isn't it? But it used to be called the Windsor Clinic, because you just touched on something before that. I remember a case when I used to work in Liverpool about used to go to the Windsor Clinic to dry out, and then what happened with them is you had to literally be at death's door to be referred in, because people were drying out and coming out and drinking again. So they were thinking, oh, I need 2 months off the ale, I want to get in the Windsor Clinic. So you had to be an organ failure to get in there, because it had been abused or seen to be abused, if you know what I mean.
I think now, because things have changed with Wirral Ways, you'll find now that you can't just go into Birchwood or into a detox. They have to do the head work. It's this. This is the part.
Otherwise, it's the cost.
If you do the head work, so you go in like the alcohol support groups in Wirral Ways, where they do, I can't think of the name of it offhand, but they do like an academy, where one's in Morton, where I do my group, and they sort of like get people ready to go into Birchwood. It is.
And will you play a part in assessing whether they're ready? Will you give any feedback on that? Will you say will you give feedback to help them get into Birchwood?
Oh yeah, well that's what Wirral Ways is all about. We do like when they come in, they do a self-referral. I do a lot of self-referrals. They're really good because you get the insights into how much they're drinking, what drugs they're taking, and then when we send it upstairs, the key worker will then get in touch with them and they'll assess them to a T. But they go in the pre-detox it is. So they go in that one in Morton, and then when they're ready, they have to do other groups, because it's getting them all ready. Because like you said, if they go into Birchwood, they're going to get a quick fix of Librium, they're going to get all the people talking to them, and they're going to come out and use. But if they get their head straight and the knowledge of what they're doing.
Do you ever get any pressure where people come in and they feel as though they're sort of putting pressure on you, that they want to go in there and you know they're not ready?
Oh yeah. But they can't go in there, and this is the good thing, that you know, if they want this, they've got to fight
Really
for it, and
yeah.
they will. If they really want it, they'll go for it. And I've seen loads of people who are now volunteers.
Yeah.
And I work with them all the time in Wirral Ways, and the volunteers, they've been in the drug scene, they've been in the drink scene, they've been in every scene going, but now they're one day at a time recovering. Yeah, but it's powerful. It's powerful because the other week, just after I'd done my suicide awareness, the weird thing was, I done somebody was coming into service and they said, Babs, will you do this one? I said, yeah, come on mate, coming in here, talking to them, chatting. We make them toast, cups of tea, sandwiches, everything now. The people are homeless, some are living on the streets, so we do them hot chocolate, drinks, everything we do them, because we have to make them feel like they're worthy of something. Yeah. So this guy come in, and God love him, he was absolutely lovely. He was about 26. He comes in, and I just asked him, you know, what are you taking, writing it down and everything. And at the end, we have to ask them, do you have any risks, lovely? You know, anything, you know, that you want to tell us about? He went, well, I've just tried to take my life this morning, Babs. And I was like, oh, okay, love, have you tried this before? He went, yeah, 3 or 4 times. I said, I'm going to make you a nice cup of coffee now. Well, do you want hot chocolate? He wants hot chocolate. Goes out, rings upstairs, the outreach team, can somebody come down, please? I've got a young guy who's tried to take his life. Yeah. Within 5 minutes, then people were down the stairs, they were in the room with him, talking to him. Next thing, he had a key worker that day. I've never seen anything work so fast. Key worker that day. So he was falling asleep on the chair, and I thought, I know he's going to be told to go out if he falls asleep. So I went, do you want to come in my group? So he come in, and he was there, and he was chatting to everyone, and it was so lovely to see that not a couple of hours earlier. Yeah, because you have to hold yourself back sometimes, because you can sort of like, you know, tears will fill your eyes or whatever, because you see some horrendous sights, but they're people, and they need help.
That's what I was just going to say to you there. You must see on a daily basis, and there must be a lot of reminders for yourself.
Oh my God.
And those similar.
Yeah.
So, kind of, how do you cope, or have you got an outlet for that?
Yeah.
That's
Wirral Ways have, well, my manager Mel, we always have a check-in. If anything's wrong, you speak, and by God can I speak. So I always tell Melissa, if something's wrong, I'm not coping with something, and she's there. Well, most of them are there, you'll find, You
find yourself getting emotionally connected to them, because that was a good point there.
Absolutely, You take them home with you. You want to mother them. If I had a massive big mansion, they'd all be in there living in their own rooms, you know, and I'd have people
So you've
working.
got to protect yourself with that, haven't you? Because
you've got to, because you can't save everyone. And you know, as much as you want to, you can't. I have another son in addiction.
All of them want to be saved.
They don't. Really. God love them now. And you know, you can't overstep the mark, because these people, that's their life, what they're living, and you can't say to them, come on, you've got to get better. They might.
Well, if they're not ready to come off it, that's where the aggression will come in.
Absolutely.
Because the guilt comes in then, because they know they shouldn't be drinking. But I was just going to touch on you when you mentioned earlier with the lad coming in off the street, the 26-year-old, how with him being self-referral then. Did you link in with the hostels directly to them? Or
they got him a place. They got him a place in the YMCA.
So were you linked? Were you sort drinkers from the hostels? Will you keep in touch with the hostels, and will they send drinkers your way?
They're always in from the hostels. They come in all the time. Because we have criminal justice as well, so everybody's in there under one roof.
Right. Okay.
And the
so if someone's homeless and they're going out like the YMCA or the bridge or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And they see that a drinker, will they refer them and send them your way straight away, or tell them about yourself? Yeah,
and a lot of people come through doctors' surgeries, through Wirral Ways as well. Yeah. But going back on that one, when they come into Wirral Ways, there's a lot of housing in Nightingales. They do everything there. Yeah. Because when you come out of Birchwood after you've been detoxed, they do a pre-academy. Yeah. And they've now opened a Rec 41 dry bar in Birkenhead.
Yeah, we saw about that.
Where, you know, I've done a few courses with some of the lads and the girls there.
It was Shaft that told us about it, wasn't it?
It's amazing, yeah. You know, they do karaoke, darts, games, everything. Yeah. And this is to keep people who were on the streets,
Yeah.
socialising, feeling their self-worth, you know, and everything, you know.
There was an issue there. Someone told me in my cab about a week ago, someone told me someone took drinking and they got chucked out straight away. So people were there, you know, in there, and someone sneaked a bit of drinking.
Yeah, because everyone in there is a recovering person from addiction.
Yeah.
So
it's also for people that just don't drink.
Yeah.
You know, because like you said, we were saying before, there's a lot of stigma attached if you go to a party. You know, you're not drinking, and not because you're an alcoholic, not because of any other reason, you just don't drink. There's that label, you know, the stigma to it. I was going to say before, your group, the Life's a Gift, it's not just for those in alcohol addiction, is it? It's for any addiction.
Yeah, it's for any addiction.
So is it mainly drugs and alcohol addictions that?
It's drug, alcohol, self-harm. It's quite a lot of things already.
What about gambling? Because it's been mentioned this morning, gambling.
I've had a few people who've had gambling, and Wirral Ways do have groups for them, but not really in my group.
Yeah.
But you know, they're quite welcome. Anybody's welcome to come in because it's an open group.
Yeah.
For any addiction as well.
Any addiction.
Yeah.
And you know, I think when you go into a group and somebody's got the same addiction as you, and you're doing well, they tend to say, well, you know, can you give me a few, you know, little pointers of how to get myself straight? And it's amazing how
it's lifting each other up.
A recovering alcoholic or drug addict can help someone else, you know, just by speaking to them, you know, normal.
That must give them that self-worth as well. It's like, you know, as much as there's experiences of being in addiction are horrendous and they're not always great, and, you know, and everything else, if you can turn that around and turn it into a positive,
it's amazing.
You know, it's like, you know, yourself, and, you know, you've lost your son, but from that has come this group and everybody else that you've been able to help. I'm not saying it replaces one for the other, but it stops it being for nothing, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, because I always say this is my recovery now from being a mother who's lost a son. I'm a grieving mother and I'll always be one, but I always hope that he's looking down on me, think, no, Mum, you're doing so well, you know, helping others, because I don't really know where I would have been at this moment in time if only for Wirral Ways to Recovery starting my support group and going on from there. And I think I'll just keep doing it forever because I just love what I do.
You can tell it comes across.
Oh, absolutely. I just, it's my purpose in life, you know, even sitting here with you, you know, telling me story and that, you know, it's powerful. And Wirral Ways is powerful. Wirral Ways is, it's just the most beautiful place to be in. The compassion that they have. And not everyone will see that compassion, because people who are in addiction think, he's a dickhead or whatever, but they're not. They're going to help you. I remember a few people have come in and they've been, who's he looking at there? You know what, mate, you have to calm down, otherwise you won't be able to stay in here. All right, love, sorry about that. It's just enabling them to realise they're there to get the help that they need.
I think, like you're saying, with it being a self-referral, I don't think that's something that everyone is aware of. I think they see Wirral Ways as being an organisation that if you've got to get in there, you've got to be referred in there. So having that self-referral, that's an incredible thing.
They come in off the streets, it's brilliant, because you're the first port of call, and I think that's one of the best things ever. I have people phoning me up, my brother's doing this, my sister, and I always give them the number. We have a Warrior Down number for Wirral Ways, where when the services aren't open, there's a Warrior Down number that people in addiction can phone.
What is that number, Babs? It'd be a good time to say the number.
I'm so sorry, it's on my phone.
It's on your phone, so you don't know that.
On the page,
but it's Wirral Ways, I'll get it for you later off my phone.
Yeah, okay.
I know it's 5561335, I think, but
right,
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but that's really a lifeline, you know, for people.
Yeah, and where is the address for people? Where you'd walk into the self-refer?
Oh,
Whereabouts is that?
That's Wirral Ways to Recovery on Market Street, Birkenhead.
Yeah. So people can go in and self-refer if people are out there now who are drinking and they feel as though they'd like to get for any addiction. You can just turn up. You can just turn up tomorrow.
Absolutely. And whereabouts is your group in Morton?
My group's in Morton Community Centre.
And what next is that?
That's on
Tonight, isn't it?
Oh, sorry. It's on. Sorry, I was just going to say where it was. So it's Maryland Lane in Morton, and that's 7 till 9 tonight.
And anyone's welcome.
Anyone's welcome just to walk in. You know, some people come and then they don't come for a few weeks and then they come back, and that's okay because you know, people have lives and they have to do different things. There's only me that goes every week, you know. But I you know, everything I do is round the group and we just sit down. It's really lovely because nobody talks over each other, and we have like a confidentiality that not anything that's said in the room stays in the room. So it's like most groups where you're coming in there a little bit, oh, what if I see Jimmy from down the road? Will he tell
and
someone?
That is a pressure. That's a pressure on a lot of
pressure,
people.
Yeah. So, you know, we always say, and people will come in and they go, oh, hiya. And then I'll get the confidentiality with our Paul's picture on. What's said in the room stays in the room. Because if it didn't, Dave, then people wouldn't be able to come
some
back.
people, there's a barrier. Some people don't want to get seen there, do they? There's that, of course there is, yeah.
It's sort of, if I was to walk into your group, I wouldn't walk, I'd wobble. But it comes to your group, I'd be straight away thinking to myself,
you don't want to see...
They see me, they're going to know.
You don't want to see anyone, you know. The first thing in your mind is, you hope there's no one near, you know.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like that, but it's a natural thing.
It is. It's a stigma, isn't it?
Family group? Where's that
the family group is in Wirral Ways to Recovery in Market Street. So that's the one, again, the same confidentiality at all times, because we're risking people's lives here and their thoughts and their mental health, you know. But I think once they come to the group, they realise that the people in the group are like themselves. It puts them at ease because it's quite a laid-back group. It's not... it is structured, but it's not over-structured, you know what I mean? So everyone that comes in, it's on a Thursday, and the other group in the family group is Tuesday at 1 o'clock till 3 in Market Street, Birkenhead.
Touch on the
But
confidential.
I've got little paper things there, so...
And do we get cakes?
Got them over
Oh, we get cakes, biscuits.
Just touch on the confidentiality there, because that's just for everyone on Voice for All Caregivers. That's something that we strive for as well. If people are sort of reaching out on the page, we just try and ask people, people are reaching out, and it's it's confidential, so you don't really talk about what other people want to open up about. Just a quick one I want to say before I go on to like my next little point is that non-alcohol pub in Market Street.
Rec 41.
Everyone go in and have a glass of orange and say hello to someone. You make someone's day. People are
Get
in
on
there.
the karaoke.
People are in there recovering. People are trying.
Yeah.
People are not trying. They're doing it. They've come off the drink and they're going in there. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to take my lad in there next time down there.
I'm going to go in because I'm
and they
friendly
do food
with
and stuff like that, don't they?
What it is, I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
They don't do food because Nightingales do the food.
Right, okay.
The Nightingales is the recovery camp, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's there near there, isn't it?
And that's just on the corner.
Yeah.
But Nightingales feed the homeless on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And if we get homeless people coming into Wirral Ways, we can phone up and ask them, can they give them a meal?
Yeah.
And Nightingales, the people that work there, they're angels.
Yeah, and there's volunteers, because I think I've had the chefs in my car, and the chef in pubs would do a day a week in there and stuff like that.
But in Nightingales as well, anyone can go in there. You don't have to be in addiction. You can go into the cab, but you can go in there and buy it, and the food.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, because there's proper chefs.
You
Yeah,
can
in the car.
put money behind.
I do that.
Take a pay it forward scheme.
Yeah.
Me and my mum used to do it because you go there for a breakfast. It was lovely, but you can pay it forward, or you can pay for a coffee for somebody. So if people are going in off the street that aren't necessarily homeless or on
go in
for a nice meal, in nice company, nice, it's a nice place to be. And they have the thing at the back, don't they, with the bread and little packs of stuff that aren't just for people that are homeless. They're there for anybody within the community. If you need the bread, you need packets of rice or pasta or whatever, it's there, isn't it? So go in. So the Nightingale is, although it helps those who are homeless and in addiction, it's a community hub. Yeah. It's not just...
There's a shop there as well, isn't it? There's a shop there where you can go in and buy a coat or whatever, and it's just pay what you think or what you've got, It's on Market Street. I'm not sure exactly where
Yeah,
it is. As
there's
you
a-
go in, it's on your left.
There's
I
a
don't know. It's
couple of
obviously
places
it's a
like that,
charity
yeah.
shop that's like that does that.
yeah. You haven't got to pay,
Yeah.
so you can just give them 20p and take the coat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you need a coat,
Yeah.
go and get one.
Yeah.
I take loads of stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm done my wardrobes again.
Yeah.
You know, because we give them to Julie, the nurse, and she gives them to ladies, you know, who have got no clothing or anything like that, and then we take the men's
It's into the
in.
YMCA as
And
well.
it's amazing, yeah.
That's
It-
it. There's
it's
so
just
many places
lovely.
that connect
Yeah.
in, and it make it a massive community hub. But because it's got the stigma of homeless addicts, you know,
Well,
things
yeah.
like that, people that aren't in that world then assume that it's not a nice place to go. It's got this. Wirral Ways is a lovely place to go if you want to volunteer, if you want to get into that sector.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff in there. The Nightingale Cat, food, like you say, lovely food, nice people, it's friendly atmosphere, it's cheap and cheerful, you know, so it's not just about, and the more that the community comes together, the less of the stigma it becomes for them addicts, so they're not hiding, and they're not able to, you know, scurry away, and they're more likely to reach out and say, yeah, I need help. And then it becomes a place where you can go in addiction or out of it. Do you know what I mean? It sort of, it builds it up then.
Behind every person in addiction, there's a story that doesn't come out until they're ready. Some of the stories that are in my head will stay there forever, but they're because these people can't speak to other people until they're ready.
Yeah.
And I feel really privileged to be able to do that and to put their mind at rest that will never come out to anyone. You know what they talk to me about,
and then the drugs mask it, don't they?
And they feel like they've a big release has come. Oh, thank God I managed to get that out. You know, and it's absolutely. I just feel so, you know, happy, and you know that I can do what I do today because I don't know where I'd have been of a
Babs, have you noticed out in the 8 years you've been doing it? Have you noticed much of a change in, like demand wise, or what services are available or not available, or has it just been sort of steady?
I think that now, from when Paul was in addiction, there was nothing. There was AA, there was NA, but now with Change, Grow, Live, it's all over the place.
So there's a lot more out there.
Birkenhead, and I love what you said before, when you can just walk in, because years ago you couldn't do that. You couldn't just self-refer off the street. And I think when you go in, one of the guys who phoned me the other week, and his sister was talking to me, he went in, he said, I didn't realise how lovely it was in there, Babs. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. There's doctors, there's nurses, there's everyone on hand, and if you come in a crisis, they're there
get the
for you.
support straight away.
There's human beings you're speaking to. It's
absolutely.
It's not a computer, it's not a robot.
No.
It's not someone millions of miles away. It's a human being face
So
to face.
so with the figures then, would you think that the figures, that the amount of people that are out there needing support hasn't necessarily gone up in the 8 years? It's just coming to, it's going up because the support's there for them to link in. Because you think back when it wasn't self-referral, you wonder what people did. You know what I mean? You wonder. Well, you had some saying, so then the figures for how many people are suffering would have been a lot lower, or you know, the people who are reaching out, there just wasn't there, was it?
I think there wasn't as many services as there is now with Wirral Ways and everything coming into place. It's grown and grown.
Yeah.
You know, I was at Tranmere's the other day to a well-being, and you know, some of the people, the inspirational stories that they get up and tell you about their life and share it. You know.
Yeah.
It's
There's
just
still not
just
enough,
amazing.
There's not enough help. There's so many cuts, and I think that there is a rise in addiction, you know, and there's a rise in addiction in young people.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying before. What makes you think that, Deb? I mean, what makes you think it's going up?
Because there's nothing else for them to do, and because everything is so socially acceptable. Yeah. It is so socially acceptable to go and get a bag of cocaine.
There's a massive cocaine epidemic on the Wirral, massive.
One of the biggest killers and the biggest addictions is prescription drugs. And it's like your pre-problems, you know, things like that are the highest addiction. And whereas it used to be, you know, heroin was like, you know, the big addiction, that's kind of like, it's a smaller group. It's a small group.
Well, the thing with drugs,
you know, everything's more readily available. You can get it on the internet. You can get it, you know, and your neighbours do.
But the thing with recreational drugs, though, they come in and out of fashion.
Oh,
that's what happens, because Do you remember, is there a group still going in Liverpool? I think it's stopped now because I tried to Google the other day called Ad Actions. Don't you remember them?
Oh yeah, I've seen that
Ad
before,
Actions
yeah.
in Liverpool, yeah. And we used to link in on health events with them. We was chatting to this guy one day, he was telling me about drugs coming in and out of fashion. And then what happens is society sees that, because there's going to be a massive one with this cocaine, because everyone's taking it now as if it's harmless.
Yeah.
And it's, well, it's cheap. It's hard, well, it's seen as like a little bit of a trendy drug as well, because it's a little bit dearer than, like, say, speed. So they think they're getting, like, people think they're getting some sort of quality, well, getting some quality sort of substance. But I was talking to this guy going back about 15 years ago, and it was about the heroin epidemic or the opium epidemic in England in the early 1900s, so over 100 years ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
Right, and there was a massive opium epidemic come from China, and it was obviously a because the poor were really poor then, so it was obviously a middle class addiction. And then once they got round to about the year 1910, 1915, people seen the damage it was doing and stopped taking it, so to speak. And then it rose its head again in the 80s. Yeah. So it'll raise its head again. Yeah. See, it's because the generations forget. So when you've got people like my generation, now I'm 50 years of age, then we seen, when I was a child leaving school, it was the generation just above me. I know they still got heroin addicts out there who get on it every day, but there was a massive explosion in the early 80s and in the 90s. Yeah. Massive. Now that's, I know people still have, but that explosion's not there anymore. Yeah. People have seen the damage it does see and stopped taking it. Yeah. So by the time you get 2 or 3 generations down the line, people would have forgotten, and then it'll come again into fashion.
It's always, there's always going to be people looking for that escapism, and for that high. But
you wonder who's behind making it fashionable, or is it just society itself? Just the way they become fashionable, because the kids can't wait to get on. They just think that.
It'll be people who want to make money.
Yeah. But how did they do it? I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? The way it just sort of it just goes like after the heroin, it was ecstasy then. Yeah. And then after the ecstasy, it was amphetamines, and now it's cocaine. Now.
But then it takes one person to go somewhere and hold go try something, comes back and says, this amazing stuff, try it. So then you try it, then the next person, it spreads like wildfire.
And then you get tricked into taking it.
Of course you can,
what are you doing there? Oh, can I have a go at that? Oh no. Oh, go on then, let me have a little
I'm
go.
feeling like you're missing out on something, I'm goaded into it, because people can't wait to make you take it as they feel like
but also as well, if you see somebody, it's like you were saying earlier about the addictive personality, now both you and Babs could both take a couple of lines of cocaine, you're fine. Babs needs an X-bag.
Well, that's right,
But she's looking at you going, but he's alright. He's alright, he's alright. So each person's body will tolerate a different amount. And it's the same even with weed, and everyone says, it's harmless, it's this, that and the other. And yet to a degree, there isn't the damage done that has been done by other drugs and things like that. But the strength of it now,
there's massive, it's a bit of a myth. Well, there's a lot of people going around making out that weed's harmless, but it's not, because it induces psychosis, doesn't it? We all
call
know
it
that.
A gateway drug, don't they? It's the lead on.
It's been called the gateway drug for a long time, but it also has massive detrimental effects on your health.
Grown now, even though they say it's natural, well, it's not natural, because you're having this, you're having that.
But but see, I'm a strong believer. I used to smoke weed when I was younger, and when it was a long time ago. I wouldn't dream of going near them, going back like 30 years ago. Do you know what I mean? And so it's a total myth that it's not addictive. So anyone out there who thinks weed's not addictive, because it is, because it's all you think about. It's, you smoke weed and you've got this, well, it grows naturally, it's harmless, right? And there's another thing that society's got to be very careful of. There's this myth in society that it grows out the earth, so it's natural, so it's safe. Well, cocaine grows out the earth. Heroin grows out the earth. Doesn't mean it's safe just because it grows in the land. Do you know what I mean?
It's what it can grow on the land. And it can grow, but it's what somebody else then does, and they pick that and they take it off, and then it's manufactured. So then it's the same as everything. It's like processed food. Or
but
you take a fresh chicken.
The point, I get what you're saying there, but the point I'm making is it's still not good for you anyway. Like taking opium or taking pure opium isn't good for you. It'll kill you.
Do you know what I mean? That is mind altering.
That's right.
But it's what I'm saying is it's like,
I know what you're saying, it goes a lot worse.
It becomes worse when man steps in.
Of course it does,
necessarily them, but people
I know what you're saying, and I get your point as well, but it's not good for you anyway.
But that's why, like you're saying with the fashion, the 60s, it was all acid and free love.
Well, that's right,
So then that dampened down, because it didn't last long enough, people were jumping at buildings, so then what else can we use?
Yeah.
What else can we
Yeah.
use? What else can we use? So there's always going to be...
Well, that's right, because before the heroin epidemic, it was acid and cannabis, wasn't it? It was all like the 60s and all stuff like that.
There's a fabulous book, if you want to read it, called Chasing the Dragon.
Right, okay,
And that is
it's
what
based
you're
in Liverpool,
talking
that's
about.
based in Merseyside.
It's Morton.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the Heights in Morton, it used to be.
Yeah.
And it's written by a policeman.
Can I say something to you about,
Fabulous.
you can tell there's certain people in that book who a lot of people know who they're on about. People know who they are. I know who a lot of them are in there.
When they say notorious family in Liso, you know, it's the Duns. You know, you don't mess with them. And that was because the barons from Liverpool were going to come over and clean up the streets of Liso. Well, unfortunately, the Duns had already done that in the years. They'd already done that. They cleaned up. And the Heights and everything else to go with it, you know, because, you know, it was drug heights, wasn't it, and everything to do with that. And on the Lingham estate by us and everything, you know. But the book, it was Peter Dunn's book, and it was an eye-opener, you know, it really was. But I read all books like that. I read every book on everything known.
Have you read Powder Wars?
Addiction.
Powder Wars?
No, but I tell you, I do like Gabor Massé. He's like a psychologist guy.
Right.
Amazing.
Right.
Does videos and everything. And he's got a book out now called The Hungry Ghosts.
Right, okay.
I just ordered that one. But
well, Powder Wars is based on the drugs and the doorman scene in Liverpool. And the battle to control the doors. Because people were getting, well, actually there's legislation for doormen come in because of the struggle in Liverpool, because they were murdering each other, you know, to control the doors and the drug scene. It's called Powder Wars, that book. That's a good book. And there's people in there who you know as well, or you know, notorious people from Liverpool who sort of, a lot of people watching this who've not read it, know what I'm on about.
Really good.
Right, so Babs,
power, innit?
what would you love to do, Babs, if you could? And what you do is amazing. You've got your group and everything, but if you had the funds, and you can say anything here, that can go right off the scale. If you had the funds, the time, the space, the staff, what would you love to bring in to your service to help people that's not there at the moment?
I would love to bring in, and this is top of my agenda, because I see that many homeless people living on the streets. They're living in Rosebery, they're living in the YMCA. The drugs are still there, they're circulating. Many years ago, there was a guy I used to know, and he used to do like houses where he used to take people in to live in the house.
Nice, okay.
I didn't mention it because I'm not sure whether I'm allowed to, but he used to take like 8 people into one house, and they'd have like somebody, they cook the dinners, do different things. I can't mention it, I think it was called Crossroads. So it was a crossroads into recovery. And he used to take them into all houses. He had them in Burtonhead. Most of my group used to live in them, but they had their own room. It was beautiful. They felt secure.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I would love to do something like that.
So why did that stop? Do you know why did that?
I don't think it has. I think it's still going now.
So you want to bring that in yourself?
But I think something like that. On a bigger scale, where other people were working on the houses, these big houses that are going to rack and ruin, they should be doing them up. Like a HMO, isn't it? The
Even
HMO.
if they got the addicts to work on the building,
Will
give them a purpose. This is going to be your room. You
well, that's what they do actually with Crossroads. They get them to work in
what
the
about
gardens.
this buy a house for a penny that they brought in Liverpool for the rundown houses?
That was a big thing that they had to
but
do
why
so
can't
much work in it to get it done.
Well, that's right.
It costs you more than to do it.
But there must be something in that they could bring on the old houses. You know, on the compulsive purchase orders with all the derelict houses. It's got to be, hasn't it? Of course it's going to cost money to fix it up, course. I get what you're saying, they had to live in it and they had to do it up, didn't they? But why couldn't the government bring something? The council are keen to do up these areas. Like I know they did it around the Everton area. I know he got a lot of bad press, the mayor of Liverpool. I think he's still suspended, isn't he? But I think he brought something in round Everton Valley. Well, he might have been, we're just saying the corruption. But anyway, he was saying, let's see, as you just go up sort of Islington, heading towards Everton Valley, you see a lot of them big old buildings falling apart. They're all owned by people who've just been sat there for years. They own the land. And they're probably thinking, well, the land's going to be worth money with the regeneration of Liverpool. And he literally said, listen, either do them up or we're going to convert, we're going to compulsory purchase them back off you to tidy up the city, because I think there was a big issue with that going towards the Rocket, no Edge Lane.
I know they.
Because all them houses were all. Do you remember for years it was the main way into Liverpool, and they were just all. They ended up doing artwork on them to clear them up.
Remember that.
And that's all been cleared out now. There's all big industrial estate there and everything like that.
There's so much resource. If you had like the hotel in Birkenhead, you know,
the central, sad when you see
that's
that
amazing.
in it.
But if you had that and you had Wirral Ways working within there, then how many members of society would you be putting back in? Do you know what I mean? Useful members of society, those who can contribute, those who can do something. You know. Yeah. You know, who's to say what those people could achieve if they were given the right support?
Absolutely.
So why don't they do that? I suppose we'll never know. Money. Yeah, they do. Yes, yeah.
I think it's feeling self-worth as well. A lot of people don't have self-worth. They feel like they're low, but they're not, because they're people, and they need to be brought up, you know, to realise that just because they're in addiction doesn't mean that they're dirty or anything else to go with it, because my son wasn't. He was just a person that addiction got the better of him, and he couldn't get out of it.
Yeah.
He has an addictive personality,
It's gone, and it's like the term clean. When somebody says, oh yeah, they've been clean, I hate that word clean. It's like, you weren't dirty in the first place. You're in recovery, you know.
Absolutely.
There is a difference.
You know, you're a recovering alcoholic for the rest of your life, one day at a time. But some people don't choose to. One girl in my group refuses to be called an alcoholic. She says she had a drink problem, and she now doesn't have a drink problem. And that's her way of coping, her coping mechanism, enough. And that's how she feels.
And you'd think that could possibly be dangerous, in the fact that if you're thinking, I don't have a drink problem, so I can pick up a drink. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's weird and so.
Well, it works for her, I suppose.
It works. It's worked for her for over 2.5 years now, so she's doing well. She's quite a professional lady as well. So, it's horrible to think that it hits professional people.
Because functional alcoholics, we mentioned it the other day, the functional alcoholics.
That I know.
That goes me, is the functional. I don't think you can actually be functional and a functional addict, because you're an addict. And even though.
But it's what it means. It's what it means, isn't it?
I get what you mean.
The meaning of it, it's an interpretation of what a functional alcoholic is. A functional alcoholic is someone who still goes to work every morning and still pays the bills. So they're a functional alcoholic. Whereas someone who has stopped paying the bills, been made homeless and drinking, they're not a functional alcoholic. I get what you know. It's a word, whatever. It's a dirty word or whatever, but it's got a meaning, because the House of Commons is full of them.
The
House of Commons,
a functioning alcoholic.
The sort of, because in other words, they're still sort of paying the bills. They're still in society, but they're alcoholics. But they'll think that they're not. They'll think that they're not, because they're not rock bottom. You know, they'll feel like they're not. That's right, and that's it. And there's a lot of them.
Because they get through the day by sipping little bits of drink and working the bottle in their bag, and that's where they function all day. And then when they get home, they drink again.
I suppose when you're rock bottom and you've admitted you've got a problem, and I suppose then you're not a functional alcoholic, you're then sort of, you know, you're one way up.
And as I said before, it's absolutely the most beautiful, powerful thing to see someone come in the group and they look like they haven't got long to live, just to say it that way, and then all of a sudden they come back and back each week, and you see their hair growing, their appearance different, everything. Their life's changing.
Hair goes shiny again, doesn't it? They just get a shine in the hair and the skin and everything.
It's just the skin, everything. The eyes light up, this person in particular. And she is beautiful, and she's like a rose. She's like a blooming rose, and it just bloomed. Absolutely, the power that is in the mind of a recovering addict or an alcoholic must be so strong to get them where they are then.
Have to be, wouldn't
Absolutely.
I think it's got to be a strong mind to actually be an addict.
Yeah.
Because, you know, to have to, your first thought of the day to be, where am I getting my fix? Whether it be, you know, self-harm, whether it be alcohol, whether it be drugs, you know, whatever your addiction is, if that's your first thought in the morning, then how do you get through the rest of the day?
I know Paul used to sleep with the bottle of White Lightning under his pillow because he knew if he didn't have that drink, he'd have a seizure.
Yeah.
He took seizures.
See, Paul was lucky, actually really lucky at that, there's no doubt about it. Because I was just thinking then as you were talking, Devin, and just come on about with Paul, there's a lot of people who feel like they're destitute because they might be homeless, they might have relationship breakdown, they might have debt, so they will drink not caring.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I think nobody else cares.
That's right, and that's a scary place to be. That's a really scary place to be, and there's a lot of alcoholics and drug users that are like that.
Yeah.
They just give up.
They only know that way of living.
That's right.
That's the only way they know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder how they feel when they do have that. Well, that's where anxiety and stuff comes from when you come off the drink, because you realise that you didn't care about yourself. And that can have the issues come afterwards, don't they?
It's a facing the reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the reality is you get up in the morning, you go to work, you get up in the
But it's when the damage comes out as well. With drugs, you know, people will take drugs for long term, and then when they become like, I know you don't like to say the word before, when they become clean, when they become off drugs, the damage that they've done to themselves, the paranoia, the panic attacks, the palpitations and all that, the anxiety, it all comes out then. It's a journey in itself. It's one thing getting off, and even if you've got off alcohol or drugs and you know you're going to stay off them, you've still got a road to go up, haven't you?
Yeah.
With all these other things that
and it's a spiral. It's an out of control spiral that they're in. And it's just stopping that spiral and getting them off that roundabout where they can know that they've got a self-worth. You're big on sort of, they can't go back to where they used to be, can they? No. You know, they can't go back to the, like, you know, whatever the bookies they were in or the pub or whatever. They've got to find something else. There's something I always say, and it's true, there's no better person to get you out of your addiction than a recovering alcoholic or drug user, because they've been there. They know the way. I don't know the way. I've never been there. And I remember once in my group, powerful, one of the lads said to me, you know, Babs, you keep going on about this, that and the other, but you don't know what it's like to be an alcoholic. And I said, I know I don't love, and I've never professed to know. All I know is, I know about addiction and alcohol because my son was an alcoholic, and I took it upon myself to learn. And I think, like you said before, Deb, if people were educated, school children are 13 and 14 are drinking now because they've seen it and they think it's okay to do. But that's where I think we've got to break that one. That power has got to be broken because they're going to grow up to be the same stigma again and again and again. Why do you think 13-year-olds are drinking now? Because they're following the traits of family members or people that they know, you know, friends.
It's trendy. It's trendy.
It's trendy.
It's on social media.
You know? Absolutely.
I mean, gin o'clock, gin this.
So it's coming from the adults then, isn't it? So it's coming from adults, isn't it?
I think there's a lot of people out there don't realise they've got an addiction. Because they're that into the wine o'clock. I know I'm just having this and that. That they don't realise that they're calling others, not everyone, but people are calling others when they're on that same path themselves.
So anything you can't do without is an addiction. You know, anything that you know, like so water, if you said you couldn't go throughout the whole day without that water, that's an addiction. You know, so anything that you can't, if you're drinking every weekend and you can't go a weekend without drinking, you're an alcoholic.
definitely got
you
a
know,
problem.
it's
So has the education got to go with the adults then as well? Because
I think so.
yeah,
I
because
think
because when you're doing, so everyone out there watching, you know, and we've all done it, or we all do it. Well, I don't actually, but a lot of people do it. When you're doing like the little TikTok and you're having like a little joke about having a drink and stuff like that, and you know, oh, I've had a stressful day, I'm going to do this, and you do that. There was a little joke in lockdown, wasn't it, at 7 in the morning, pouring himself, you show up at that lawnmower at 7 in the morning and you poured himself a whiskey.
Yeah.
You must have, it went
Yeah.
viral. So when you're doing that little joke on TikTok, who's seeing it?
everyone.
Your 13-year-olds are seeing it,
Yeah.
and they're thinking it's a bit of a laugh having
Yeah.
a drink. So that's where it's coming. That's where it's coming.
It's society, isn't it?
Yeah, it
Socially
is. Yeah.
acceptable, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for 13-year-olds drink, I mean, you know, we've all done the teenage drinking.
Yeah.
Mad Dog 2020
Yeah.
and all that. We've all done that bit. But I think when kids are doing it now, if they make a fool of themselves while they're drunk, it's on social media.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody
The
knows
world's
about it.
changed from when I was a
That's
kid.
where
Yeah.
the taking of the lives comes
Well,
in,
that's
because we can't
correct.
live with the stigma what
Yeah.
people have
But
done.
then it's also the next time, oh, I feel so bad because that's happened to me, I'll have a drink.
Yeah.
Or I'll do these
Yeah.
them balloons that they're all
Yeah.
doing.
Oh,
like,
yeah. What's that all about? What's going
you
on
know,
with
that's
them? Yeah.
just
Yeah, I've done all those
Yeah.
courses,
Yeah.
yeah,
But
unbelievable.
that's socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Because, well, within their
Because
social
do you know
circles,
why?
it's
Do you know why?
acceptable.
Because you know what you're touching on here. Do you know what's attached to it? Having a laugh.
Yeah,
That's what appeals to the
because
kids.
there's illegal highs and there's illegal.
Yeah.
Now them balloons have been put to illegal
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Thank
But
God.
they think they're missing out on a laugh, don't they?
Oh yeah.
So when you're having like a bottle of cider in the cemetery and having a laugh, right? Or then it goes on to like 17, you first get served in the pub and you're having a laugh, right?
Yeah.
So then when you get to 24, 25 and you might hit hard times, then and you're down on your luck and you feel sad, then what are you going to do? What do you want to do? You want to be happy again, don't you?
Yeah.
And what have you been learning since the age of 13? What are you going to do? And the next thing you know, you're going to have a drink. That's the path, isn't it? That's the DNA in your brain that's been
Well,
imprinted
brains
there.
connect. If you connect, like you say, you know, Christmas Day, you know that feeling that you're going to get up this presents.
Yeah.
So your brain starts connecting presents with that good, lovely, warm
Yeah.
feeling. The roast dinner that you have, your brain will connect that roast dinner with that nice feeling.
Yeah.
So if you get drunk and you have that nice feeling, or you get high and you have that nice feeling, it's not necessarily the drug or the alcohol. It's the feeling
Well, yeah,
that's stuck in your
yeah,
brain.
that's right.
That you've
Yeah.
attached to that.
Psychological
So-
side of it
and then,
brings in
you know,
things. They
definitely.
feed each other, don't
Definitely.
they?
Rose
Yeah.
tinted glasses come on and it's,
Yeah.
oh yeah, well, I might have been sick after that, but look at the time I am.
But you know what is addictive, just for everyone out there, you know what is addictive that I love?
TikTok.
Right, but wait, you know, New Year's Day is a beautiful day if you wake up early in the morning. You do get that feeling it's a new year and you feel fresh and you go for a walk or a jog or whatever. We're in a trend, aren't we, where 90% of the population, they all stay up all night drinking and they miss New Year's Day, and it's a great day.
Oh yeah.
I'm up at 5, 6 in the morning New Year's Day. I don't drink on a New Year's Eve. I don't drink anyway. These days, but New Year's Eve I'm in bed early and it's always good because you miss New Year's Day, which is so much better than New Year's Eve.
Wait up for the bells,
Yeah.
go out on the front, we snap our shortbread,
Yeah,
and you know, tears with you,
yeah.
Bailey's coffee.
I used to run around the block with tip and salt over my shoulder when we used to make do that. I'm not quite sure.
I used to send me brother out the front and make him come in the back with coal.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah,
Oh,
a lot around the block.
Yeah.
But you know what I want to ask you about? So you touched on it earlier about a gentleman that's been coming in for 16 years and he's a regular, right? Is that do you link him with any people who have come into your group? Do you keep in touch with anyone who's gone on to go and do the career and do amazing, and do you keep in touch with them?
Yeah.
And what's that feel like? And can you tell us any stories about that?
Yeah. Well, I've got two girls. One was a nurse and she was one of the worst alcoholics I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
That time in the group when I wasn't with Wirral Ways, because you've got a lot of policies and procedures to follow.
Yeah.
And you can, you don't put yourself in danger with people.
Yeah.
Well, the group Andy done and all of us Peter done, all of us used to go up to the house, make sure she had something to eat, clean up for her. She was in a terrible state. And mum was beautiful, who I got friends with. So the mum was really looking at us to help her. We helped her. She went in Birchwood. I remember one time taking her to Birchwood with the bottle of vodka in the back of my car, and she'd be like, "Have you got me vodka?" "Yeah, I've got it here. Don't forget to bring it in with me because I need it near." She was going into detox, but she still wanted the vodka.
Yeah.
So I left it in the car. She said, "You've left me vodka in the car. They're very clever."
Yeah.
Very clever. And I'll get it in a minute. I'm just going to take you in, and then I'll get it in there. Don't forget me vodka. I'm just going to get it now. That girl now works in Birchwood, the new one. She's been, I think it's 5 years now without a drink.
Wow.
I have a Reiki master who's in the group. She's 3.5 years clean. I'm still in contact with them. I go out for lunch with them.
That's what I'm saying, they become like regular on the social side, you stay in touch,
Oh yeah, all the time.
Proper.
I love it.
Buzz in it.
Yeah. Well, in my group as well, in the summer, we'll all go to Bethnal Park and we'll have a walk and talk. We do everything like that. We go out for breakfast. Christmas, we have people giving us money to go out for a meal. You know, and we all have a meal. But picking up on something you said, I haven't had a drink for over 23 years because of what I've seen. Because of seeing Paul from the age of 15 in alcohol addiction. And the trauma in my family. I've not long lost my nephew who was 44. He worked in a Hoylake Cottage Hospital and he was a alcoholic. He was a functioning alcoholic. He didn't even know anything was up with him. He was out for a drink with the lads and then one day he went yellow. And that was it. He was gone within a couple of months. So what I always say is err on the side of caution. If you go yellow, there's something wrong. Get right to the hospital right away because you're jaundiced right away.
Do you know what sticks in the head? And I wanted to mention it earlier when you're saying, do you ever remember that documentary on the Royal? About, that was before your son, that was about 20 years ago, wasn't it? If you need something like that on the TV again, don't need to bring awareness. The girl was bright yellow, wasn't she?
Louis Theroux does a lot of things about, people in addiction and crystal meth and all.
He's called Louis Theroux, he does some
amazing. But you're right, awareness needs to be put out there. That's why that was like
a prime time TV. It was sent out as a shocking thing, that wasn't it? It was the Royal Hospital in Liverpool, and it was following it. What they touched on during that show was the dangers in women, because they can't handle the alcohol the same as men. But women's bodies can't because what's happened a lot with women out here, it's peer pressure. This for everyone listening. It's become fashionable now for women to drink vodka and Diet Coke. Because gin's the new one, right? Any short, because it's got less calories in it, and women don't want to put any weight on. So rather than having like half a lager or be sit on the bottles of beer all night, they'll drink vodka all night. And it touched on to do you remember? I remember years ago when I first left school, and if you got a short, it was like a little bit of an extra, wasn't it? Like a special. You'd have like your pint. You think, you know what? I've had like 4 pints. I'm feeling a bit. I'm going to get myself a little like Pernod and Black. And you sipped. That's it. And you sipped it, didn't you? Well, you sipped it, didn't you? But now girls are having. I'm saying women because I touched on the show. The lady was saying women can't handle alcohol like males can, and they're drinking shorts. They're having half a bottle of vodka before they go out on a night out, doing serious damage to them.
Absolutely. And also putting themselves in danger from rape. Anything to do with any.
People don't see binge drinking. So going out drinking on a Friday and Saturday every weekend, people don't see that as an issue.
No.
Because it's socialising, they're out. But then they're pre-drinking, then they're going out to a pub, then they're going back and they're pre-drinking again, they're drinking again. So the amount of alcohol that they're consuming in 1 or 2 nights. There was two doctors, 2 brothers. They did a documentary on the telly, and one of them drank every day, and the other one binge drinking, was doing binge drinking, and it was like I think it was only a couple of weeks to see what damage it would do. The binge drinker, there was more damage caused because you're drinking a larger amount in a shorter space of time, so your body's not coping with it. But people don't see that as an issue.
Because they're battering that organ.
Right, and how many people are addicted to binge drinking? How many people are addicted to binge drinking? Or if they feel like they've wasted the weekend if they don't, that's right. So just because you're not using every day doesn't mean you're not addicted.
Exactly. If you get to a weekend and you can't go that weekend without either going and getting on it or drinking, then you're addicted. Regardless, you are addicted. You know, anything that you can't say, no to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I've got my own vice, which I sees, which I shouldn't, you
Yeah.
know, and try my best.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I can't always, you know, I can some, but I can't always. But, so I'm addicted.
Yeah.
Simple as that, I'm addicted.
Yeah.
You can't say no to drinking at the weekend.
Yeah.
You're addicted.
Yeah.
If you can't say no to that, you know, the recreation drugs at the weekends,
you're
still addicted.
I wonder how many people sitting out there now watching this, have you come across this, Babs, where people don't want to admit it because of maybe losing the kids into the care system and that sort of things. And they think, once I admit that I've got a problem, I'm going to lose the children, which isn't necessarily the case.
Years ago, it used to.
But what I'm on about the fear, I'm on about the fear of that.
I think a lot of people don't think they've got a problem. I just think
because you hit rock bottom. Once you admit you've got a problem, it's time to fix yourself. So they're not going to admit it until they're ready to want to be fixed.
I remember once going to Al-Anon, and I'll never forget it as long as I live, because Paul used to say, "What did he say?" He was the person in addiction. I went to Al-Anon because the family side of it, and he wanted to know what they said. And I thought, well, don't you want to go to AA? No, I'm not going to any other groups. They're no good. He never went, God love him, but that's the stigma he had over getting help. He didn't think he had a problem.
Ignorance is bliss, isn't it?
He didn't think he had a problem. No, I mean, if he's looking down now, he's probably saying, why did I drink again? Because 7.5 years is a long time. And just for one person to say to you, you'd be all right now, you're 7.5 years clean, you never drink.
And I'm sure that they'd go through it. I'm sure he did think he'd be okay.
That was what he drank when he drank.
Yeah, I'm sure he did think, you know
what I mean? As soon as he got them words.
Yeah.
How old was he when you sort of, you know, you said that you started drinking at 15. So at what age did you kind of look and go, he's an alcoholic?
When he used to drink with the lads in the park and everything like that, you just thought it was the culture. He's out with the lads, he's having a drink, he's coming home, he's okay. I think it was when he was around about 18, 19. He never went to school because he was naughty. He used to just walk out to school, come home, wouldn't go in. He just got in with all the lads who used to drink, but unfortunately he couldn't drink the same as them, but he didn't know because he had a genetic disorder, the liver. But then, I think when he was 20, 22, he was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver. That was the shock.
So he's had that second time one with the condition that he hasn't known about.
A lot of people don't know that they've got that because Dr. Lombard at the Royal Liverpool and Professor Gallimore was the one who told Paul that he had a genetic disorder, whereas his friend could drink 8 pints and nothing would happen to him. But if Paul drank that, the liver would be damaged. But I think the main reason that Paul was really bad was the white lightning cider and the frosted jack. That, if I had my way, another one of my wishes,
isn't it, selling
I
that,
would,
ban that.
I can't say I'll blow the factory up, but I would like to shut the factory down because it's death in a bottle. And I always say that, and I see the young ones on social media saying, oh, remember the days of the white lightning in the park, and I have to sort of like think to myself, don't say nothing.
It's because it's cheap, isn't it? That's it's because it's cheap. There's no apples in it, is there? It's just chemicals.
When it first came out, it was like you had the diamond white and you had the white lightning, and it was like all cheap. You get it was in the glass bottles then, and then they brought it out in these big bottles.
It was the throw off to the super strength lagers, and there's the side of the same strength but cheaper.
It was aimed at females. The side was a female.
And I suppose really people out there will be thinking, well, no, I don't agree with that because, you know, I've been drinking vodka, this, that and the other, and it hasn't killed me. And that's because they haven't got a genetic disorder.
But aren't you lucky?
You're very lucky. Very lucky. Because I've seen a lot of people pass away.
And that doesn't mean it's not killing you, because there's that as well, isn't it? Because people, going back to the drug epidemic with this cocaine, before we touch on it, people think, someone said an example to me years ago, people will take cocaine of a weekend or they'll have a drink or whatever, and then when they wake up on Monday they feel okay, so they think, well, it's safe, right? But we don't it is an example, right? If you smoked you know, you're saying you smoke but if you smoke, say, one cigarette a week for all your life, it won't kill you, right? But we don't smoke one, do we? It goes to 1 a day, and then it goes to 2 a day, and it goes to 10 a day. And before you know, you're on 20 a day, and it will shorten your life. But 1 a day, once a week, it's seen as harmless. So a lot of people are having this bottle of vodka every weekend, taking drugs of a weekend, and because they're okay on the Monday.
But it's stealing.
And even going, well, it's damaging you as well, but it's long term, and it goes back to the cannabis before. A lot of people smoke cannabis thinking that's harmless, but long term use, it's a psychosis. Massive, the figures are massive with it. Dementia, psychosis, paranoia, users, wait, all your money goes on it. You show me someone who smokes cannabis who hasn't had any and hasn't got any money for some, and you show me that they're normal. Because you won't get a word out of them, they won't be able to think of nothing else but how they're going to buy some cannabis. But then when they're sitting there high on it, they'll tell you it's not addictive. It's the first thing they'll say.
Do you reckon that alcohol is the biggest killer?
Over
all drugs, over every
go.
drug, heroin, cocaine.
And a lot of people, it's not even seen as one. It's not even seen as a drug, is it?
No.
With a lot of people.
But the thing is, if you think about it, you've got alcohol, it's everywhere.
It's
absolutely everywhere.
Glorified.
You know, little supermarkets, you go to holiday camps, it's sold, it's at the bar, anywhere, and everybody's go-to is, you're feeling down, let's have a drink. You're happy, let's have a drink. You get married, let's have a drink. You just, found that you're having a baby, let's have a drink, let's do this. It's the go-to for everything.
Do you remember the old outdoors, the way they used, it was hard to buy drink, wasn't it, when you think back? It was the old outdoor attached to the pub they used to. But what I mean, it wasn't the supermarket. It wasn't in the supermarket aisles though, was it? Or in the corner shop.
And it couldn't be sold on a Sunday.
People out there are going to think, am I right? Oh God, she says,
no, it's not, because
in society, I think now half of the problems of the people are the drinking hours. When they stopped them pubs, because I was a barmaid for many years in the Liso pub, they used to open at 11 o'clock in the morning and shut at 3:30. Open at 5:30 and shut at 10:30.
That's right.
Now they can stay in the pub till nearly 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's all because of this. The money.
I think that sometimes those who go and like some Wetherspoons, the majority of those who go and sit in there all day are, no disrespect or anything, but they're elderly men. So if you're going to shut down the pubs or close the hours, give something for them to do. So it's like, take with one hand, give with the other.
But what I mean is that opening at 8 o'clock in the morning and serving alcohol.
And they're getting round it by what they're doing, what they've done, right? Because we know what they're doing it for. They're doing it to sell the alcohol and make the money. But what they did, they looked at like Spain and Greece when you're on holiday, and they gone, listen, so the governments have gone, okay, as long as you're serving breakfast, you can.
They've got all the outside seating.
And everyone's going in there for a beer. So,
The only thing that Wetherspoons did that I thought was right is they have a policy that if there's two people there drinking and they've got a kid, one of them can't drink. They won't serve them both with alcohol.
And Wednesday, is this in certain hours?
No, this is the whole time.
That's the first I've heard. That is just a sea policy,
that sounds good.
It does,
But that's if so say...
Wonder how strict they are, how they implement that.
If they spot, they are quite strict. I've been a few times I've seen people drinking and they've gone,
right, okay,
wow.
So you can't, so that's it.
So there's got to be one person who's not drinking.
Yeah, I've never heard that,
And that was because I suppose people were taking the kids in there, getting blocked over.
Well, they are,
Which, why would you want to take a kid?
There was a story with one of the pubs, it's a bit of a funny story, I don't want to make, but there was a story with one of the pubs on the Woodchurch, I can't remember which one, but they did a free bouncy castle, right, for the kids to try and get people in to drink. And people taking the kids in and going down and drinking the kids in the magical school back and getting them full of kids and no adults in there, just to try and get people in. So they were encouraging kids in free to get drink, which is scary, isn't it?
Absolutely terrifying.
Who wants the kids around when you want to drink?
And the kids are learning from that when they see it happening in the family.
And the thing is that it's not a case that all drinking is bad and you should never drink again and everything else.
Absolutely.
And there is, but it's moderation. Everything in moderation.
And you know what, you'd enjoy it more when it's moderation. The last time I had a drink was on holiday in October last year, and it was when I was abroad. I haven't had a drink since. I only drank 3 times last year, and it was when I was abroad all 3 times, and I don't miss it. Didn't even think about it, and I'll go away in the summer. I probably won't drink now till the summer, and I'll have a couple of pints of a night, and I'll enjoy them probably. Well, I will enjoy them. But it's not. It's
can have a drink.
But don't get me wrong. And then my brain. I used to feel like I was missing something, especially when you're younger, because you come out of school. 1 minute it's the school disco, isn't it? 20 pence for the ticket. The next minute you're in the park and you're old enough to get in the nightclub. So that's why kids go to nightclubs. It's the school disco, but with alcohol, isn't it? And then the next thing you know, all your mates are there and you're not. And there is this sense of like, well, I'm missing out on something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you live that, and that's where getting out every weekend comes from, doesn't it?
I mean,
that's where that...
in my life, people must think, oh God, look at her, she hates drink, we can't drink round her.
No.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, not everybody's got an alcoholic problem or a drug problem.
No.
If you want to have a social drink, have one, you know, it doesn't bother me. All I say is, be very wary of when you're drinking too much and when it can actually get to the addictive side of it, because once you're in that ball.
So how do you feel about these campaigns, Babs, about talking about people who go to the nightclub every week and then when they stop doing that? See, wonder how many people out there watching it from the nightclub every week, it turns to a drink in the house every week, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean, just like it's Saturday night, I've worked all week, so I'm going to have a drink, and there's millions who do that, as we all know. There's this like Stoptober and all this, you know, where they have a month, try January. It's a good thing, isn't it?
We do that in Wirral Ways,
because it breaks that cycle, doesn't it? And well, you know, you just have a month off it then.
I know quite a few people who do that as well.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
And it's nice if you think that you can train yourself to do that.
Yeah.
And if you can't, you know, you've got a problem.
Well, that's right, because it's a good way of showing yourself that, you know, because you'll make, you know, I don't think there's anyone out there watching who has a drink on a Saturday night who'd say they've got a problem, but then we'll have a month off it then.
And they probably haven't. A lot of people don't have
But the thing is, it's nice with the pubs and that, where more people are drinking at home. You're drinking at home, you're doing your own measure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
well,
definitely.
Yeah.
And the smoking ban had a massive impact.
Yeah, people drinking at home.
Because people were drinking at home so they can have a smoke.
Yeah.
And then obviously the pandemic came along and everyone was drinking at home. So everyone would get these big, massive measures.
Yeah.
And then they go into a pub and it's like, well, what's that? So they're having 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, to get them to the stage that they were then.
Yeah.
So there's such a danger with drinking at home. If you're drinking at home...
Well, there is. It becomes very habitable, it becomes very comforting,
I think you become isolated as well when you drink at home. Paul was like that. He used to drink on his own.
So you're not dancing, you're not social, you're not using your body, you're not moving, you're just there and then you're there with your own...
Well, it's the psychological side as well, Deb. I think that's the big one. Once you get used to drinking on your own, it goes back, links back into drugs, because you're in your world, you're in a world of your own when you're sort of having like... what is it, a delusion, isn't it? When you're along with your thoughts and you have a toxin, whether it be an alcohol or another drug, then you have many delusions then, and they can make you recluse. They can make you not want to socialise.
And they become your little companion,
of course
don't you,
they
as
do,
well? You know, the part and parcel of it. I know in Wirral Ways now they do a no smoking clinic. Did you know that? Yeah. It's free. It's free as well. You just phone up and get an appointment. But I was going to say, if people want to know about Wirral Ways and all what's on and where they can go, it's on the website. Right,
it's on your website. So that brings us on to what I was going to ask you, Babs, to finish off. I want you, if you don't mind, so with anyone who's watching this now, right, who feels, who thinks they'd love to link in and get some support or refer someone into support, I'd like you to address them, Babs, and give you the last word on it. What would you say to anyone sitting at home now watching this video thinking, do you know what, I want to get help? What would you say to them, and where would you refer them to go to get led to yourself?
Anyone who's thinking at the minute that they need help out there and need just, you know, even support in a certain thing, they might not have a drink problem but they think they have, get yourself checked. If you go to Wirral Ways to Recovery in Market Street, you can do a self-referral at the door. You can actually go to the Wallasey hub. You can actually go, if you look on the website, you'll see all the hubs that you can go to, and then you can phone the number and then they'll either get back to you for a key worker to speak to you, like a phone consultation, or you can go straight to Wirral Ways and refer yourself, which is absolutely brilliant. My group, you can always, I don't know whether we can show that, can we? I can just give you my number. That's my...
We'll put that on the page anyway.
Yeah, we'll put it on the page anyway.
Oh,
we'll just
you put them on the page, that's great.
So that's your... So tell us a bit about your group then, Babs.
The one that Dave's holding now, if that's Life is a Gift, that's on this evening, every Thursday night, 7 till 9, at Morton Community Centre in Morton, Maryland Lane, Morton. And you know, you can just come along. People come to that group, but they also bring family members with them just for a little bit of support. The other group, which is in the Birkenhead Hub, Market Street, That's 1 till 3 on a Tuesday, and that's for family members, which is a good one because people who are family members who just want to get out of the addiction side of things can talk to someone, well, all of us who know. I mean, I've got people who have lost children as well as myself through addiction. You know, when I say children, I mean sons of 40, 30, whatever. But, you know, it could happen to young people as well. So if you want to come along to any of them, I'm sure you'll really, really benefit from it because they're just support, and the support that you need if, you know, you've got a family member or a loved one in addiction. And come along, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Babs wants to see you, Wirral Ways want to see you. Go along, take a friend, families go along to the one that's on a Tuesday. And the support's there for you. I want to thank our beautiful Debbie for taking part on this podcast. I want to thank the beautiful Babs Gallimore for coming in today and telling us our story. I want to thank the Shafts again for being amazing, for making us so welcome, giving us use of the room. I'll ask everyone out there to get in touch with Babs, go on the website, subscribe to our channel, What's Happening Wirral, subscribe to our Facebook page, Voice for All Caregivers. We offer to support, like Babs is doing there with the families, we're supporting people who support people. So anyone out there who needs a bit of support themselves, we have a confidential group, Voice for All Caregivers on Facebook. Join the group, hit the link on the bottom of this video. Get involved, the support there. Thanks again, Babs.
Oh, no
You've been
worries.
amazing. It's been great having you. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah, and take care, everyone. Subscribe, like the page, subscribe, get involved. Take care.